This is Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to the Berks County Board of Commissioners meeting for October the 8th. A reminder on comments. You may be watching and listening to the program either through Microsoft Teams, Facebook Live, BCTV, or YouTube Live. If you would like to make a comment, especially as it relates to a specific agenda item, you need to do that now and make the comment through the platform that you're watching. Again, YouTube, it would be in the comments section, Facebook in the comments, and Microsoft Teams in the Q&A. Those are the only ways to provide comment for this meeting. If you have general comments, those will be read at the end of the meeting. With that, we will begin, as we always do, with a moment of silence, followed by a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to begin this morning with a report from Brian Gottschall. Brian is the director of the Berks County Department of Emergency Services, and he is also the lead on the Berks County COVID-19 leadership team, and he's going to be providing a report on the COVID-19 data for Berks County. Brian.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sorry, I was on mute there.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, doing our COVID data report for the week dated October 8th. Taking a look at the Pennsylvania early warning dashboard information. Reminder for our viewers that this is the data as of last Friday, which is the most current publication of that information on Department of Health's website. We kind of see a split in our indicators here, some up, some down. Seeing some higher indicators of the disease in our community, but the good news is at the bottom of the chart where we see that our situation with respect to hospitalizations and patients who are on ventilators is looking better each week. We've seen a couple weeks now of decline in those statistics. So all things we want to keep an eye on. Nothing really terrible to take a look at this week. And again, I think that our community can feel reasonably good about the conditions that we have out there, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to be vigilant, shouldn't continue to make sure that we're all doing our best to implement the mitigation measures that are recommended by the federal and state government. Looking at some more specific data, we always like to take a look at our daily data, what we call our spot data, that shows these big spikes up and down in the orange line as far as the amount of testing that's being done on a daily basis in the community, and the blue line as far as the number of cases. But then we always take a look at it smoothed, which makes it a lot easier to see the trends. We see that our testing, has its weekly up and down fluctuations as we go through the week, but generally we're staying in around the same place that we've been since back in August. Our case count is higher than we would like it to be based on our objective of 210 cases over that 14-day smooth period. But on a good news front, the case count is holding kind of steady, minor fluctuations up and down, but holding right around that 500 number. Again, a reminder that the state dashboard shows positivity percentage based on all testing in the community, taking the total number of positive cases, dividing it by all tests that are being administered to come out with the percent positivity. This slide that we look at each week is first test positivity. This does not take into account all of the serial testing that's being done on places like nursing homes and other custodial populations like that. So our percent positivity number does look higher than the state's number that they publish, but we believe this is important to take a look at because it's more indicative of the general community. Again, an outbreak in a nursing home or an outbreak in a custodial care facility, those folks are generally not going out and moving around the community. That doesn't mean that it can't be a source of transmission, as of course there are employees who are going in and out of those facilities and could spread the disease out into the community, but it's much more likely to see the disease spread through the community from among the general population, and this is a better indicator of the percent positivity among the general population. The number is going up. We saw a spike back about a week and a half ago that was driven by one day that had a 22% positivity. And we then very quickly came down off of that peak, but we are starting to see the numbers climb up again with consecutive days of double-digit percent positivity among the first testing. As we started last week, we're going to take a two-week look at our hospitals each week, and we do see some more admissions among our hospitals. But again, the numbers are, I guess, what you would call reasonable when we compare this to the spring when we had very large numbers that were taxing our hospitals' ability to do their important job in our community. And then again, a new slide that we began looking at last week, we want to look at week over week. Reminder that Berks County is 9th in population in the Commonwealth. So while we want these numbers to be at the far extremes of the spectrum of good and bad, we would be somewhat reasonably comfortable if we were hovering around 9th in any category, because that would be indicative of our size in the Commonwealth. However, what we see is that we are significantly low in our testing per capita, and we are much higher than 9th in our cases per capita. I'm going to talk about the testing issue in just one moment, but we are looking to take some action to try to resolve that and bring our testing numbers up more in line with the size of the county per capita within the Commonwealth. So in that vein, through a cooperative effort among the county commissioners, the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and our partners at the Fight and Fills, we're going to be able to make available some community testing for COVID. And there's no need to rush to get a paper and pencil to jot this down. There's going to be significant outreach about this. Steph Weaver, our public affairs person, is working on this along with folks from DOH, and I know the Fightins are going to be helping us to publicize this also. But beginning October 13th and extending through October 17th at the First Energy Stadium, or as some people still call it, the Municipal Stadium on Route 61, we're going to be able to make available community COVID testing. This testing is going to be offered each day from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m., 0700 to 1800 hours, except for the Friday and Saturday. On the 16th and 17th, due to other events that are underway at the stadium, we'd like to get the testing wrapped up by about 5:30 p.m. or even a bit earlier if possible. This testing is going to be available by drive-in, walk-in, even bus-in. The facility is on an easily accessible public transportation route. There is not an appointment or a physician's order or prescription needed. You can simply present and be tested for COVID if you desire to. There is no cost for this testing, and the objective is to have the results turned around in approximately 48 hours and back to you. Because, of course, they have to be able to reach out to you to provide you those results, each person producing is going to need a form of official identification so that they can register the individual to receive their test results. So again, no need to jot all that down. This will be well publicized in local media and social media, but we're very excited to let the public know that the commissioners, through this cooperation with DOH and the Fight and Fills, are going to be able to make this community testing available for about a 1-week period of time. Commissioner, back to you if there are no other comments or questions.
Thank you very much, Brian. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? Thank you very much. We will move ahead with our agenda. Are there any additions or corrections for the October 1st Commissioner meeting minutes and the October 6th operation meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. I want to note that we had 2 executive sessions, one on October the 6th dealing with personnel and real estate, and one on October the 7th dealing with personnel and litigation. Is there any public comment on specific agenda items?
No, I do not believe so.
Thank you very much, Mary. We'll move to the agenda. Item 1, authorizing under that Budget Department, adopt a resolution authorizing 2020 budget transfers in the amount of $154,425 and 2020 appropriations in the amount of $998,152 per listing dated October the 5th of 2020. There are several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the chief clerk to advertise enactment of proposed county ordinance approving the participation in and the execution of an intergovernmental transfer agreement between the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services Office of Long-Term Living and the Berks County for intergovernmental transfer of funds to DHS Office of Long-Term Living in order to provide the non-federal share of medical assistance payment to county nursing facilities for fiscal year 2020 through 2021. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of sub-grant application forensic science improvements combating opioids in Pennsylvania combating opioids to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. The grant will be used by the District Attorney's Office to train a digital analyst in advanced techniques that can be applied to opioid death investigations and is 100% federally funded. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the certification statement and attestation statement for the Human Services Block Grant Income and Expenditure Report for fiscal year 2019 through 2020. Item D, adopt a resolution ratifying, confirming, and approving Shelley O'Neill, Project Manager, Information Systems, to execute a change order to the AST Corporation contract in the net new amount of $15,100. The change order provides for third-party services to provide for payroll tax filing to federal, state, and city of Reading, processing employee-related information for filing and printing of W-2s, and retiree-related information for filing and printing 1099s. Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the independent contractor agreement between the County of Berks and Deborah Oliveri, Temple, PA, to provide consulting and administrative services for the Berks County Office of Election Services with respect to the 2020 general election. Item F, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the settlement agreement between the City of Reading and the County of Berks resolving sewer service billing issues for water supplied to the Berks County Services Center since 1992 in the amount of $375,000. Item G, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the settlement agreement between the Reading Area Water Authority and the County of Berks resolving water usage billing services for Berks County Services Center since 1992 in the amount of $375,000. And item H, adopt a resolution authorizing Terrence Brennan, Berksheim Nursing and Rehabilitation Administrator, to execute the attestation for Omnicare, a CVS health company, for participation in Omnicare's on-site COVID-19 testing program. Item 2, a motion authorizing execution of contract agreements and amendments as furnished by the contract coordinator as set forth on the attached listing dated October the 6th of 2020. There are a total of 9 contracts, 1 with the Berksheim, 3 with Children and Youth Services, 1 with the Commissioners, 1 with Information Systems, 2 with Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, and one with the solicitor's office. And then finally, a motion to ratify and confirm payments as set forth on the Controller's Office voucher listing. It's dated October the 6th of 2020, and the payment of electronic transfers and employee payroll.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We'll now turn to our Berks County Treasurer, Dennis Adams, for the Treasurer's Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have an opening balance today of $200,071,643.87. A balance to clear of $4,222,294.97, leaving us with a balance today of $195,849,348.90.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your report. And in the absence of our county controller, we have Daniel Jenkins from the Controller's Department with the Controller's Report. Daniel.
Good morning, Commissioners. This week's total cash disbursements were $4,894,505.96. Checks totaled $3,266,601. Wire transfers totaled $1,627,904.96, and there were no payroll disbursements this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll turn the meeting over to Ron Seaman, our Chief Administrative Officer, for his comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have nothing to offer at this time. Thank you.
Very good. We'll go then to Commissioner Kevin Barnhart.
Well, good morning, everyone. My commissioner colleagues and everyone who joined us. Some quick updates. I don't have a Code County wellness report this week. They are all in training today, and Carolyn and her staff will be tied up till 5 o'clock, so I'll have an updated report next week. I also want to talk about the CARES Act. The CARES Act has been going extremely well. We launched our subcommittee virtual meetings yesterday. We had 2. We have 1 today with our public health folks. And then lastly, on Friday, we have our meeting with the educational people to explain the various applications, conflict of interest, grading system they will use as the applications continue to flow in for the CARES Act dollars in the total amount of $19 million, which we divided into the 4 groups. And we put maximums on them. Most of them are at $100,000 maximum allocation. The not-for-profits are at $50,000, just given the anticipated number of not-for-profits that are going to apply for COVID-19 related assistance. So again, my hat's off to Pam Shook and Jessica Blauser and Ron Seaman and Justin Luce and all of the volunteers in our community who stepped forward to really make this as non-political as possible. I pretty much kick off the meetings for the first couple minutes, and then from this point forward, once we have the intro meeting, then it's up to the teams to work collaboratively and get us the results so we can approve the list and the allocation of money by October 27th. Election services, a total of 67,324 paper ballots. They started going out last Friday. They are anticipating the printer to send out about 10,000 batches a day. So through the end of this week, they all should be out to the public. For those who requested mail-in ballots, of course, in those numbers are also absentees and military overseas, and all the paper ballots and must be counted. Pleased to report, and Commissioner Linebaugh reported this also on Tuesday, the other box for dropping mail-in ballots and yours only, because it's not lawful to drop more than your own ballot in the box, will be located at the Agricultural Center on County Welfare Road, and it will be open Monday through Friday, the week prior to the election, 8 to 5, and then 8 to 5 on Monday, and then 8 to 8 on Election Day. So we're giving people the expanded opportunity who do not live close by Reading but live in the outskirts to drop their mail-in ballot at the Ag Center, which will be secured in both locations by deputy sheriffs. That's what I have at this point. Look forward to everyone's questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Barnhart. We'll move now to Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. Just have a few items here to update on. Last week, I had indicated that the PHFA rental assistance program had ended as of September 30th. The governor did issue an emergency order extending that out to November the 4th. So if you're a landlord or a tenant, please make sure that you make use of this program. It's a great opportunity for those who have not been able to pay their rent, and so the landlords are able to get their money there. Unfortunately, there have been no changes as of yet to the guidelines. Like I had mentioned last week, due to the guidelines, the use of the actual amount that had been set aside for this program was very small. But hopefully between now and November 4, there will be some changes to the guideline by the legislature, allowing more tenants and more landlords to be able to have access to this funding, which is so much needed. Also, an update on the Small Business New Start Grant. We're in the process right now of reviewing the applications and verifying the documents. That once we get that done, then a list of the businesses that were awarded the grants will be listed on our website. And once those names are determined, then the checks will actually be a wire will start going out. So there should be money received by the small businesses about 30 days after that. So that'll put us sometime into the month of November for them to start receiving that money. We're trying to move it as forward as quickly as possible, but due to the amount, it will take time to verify the information that has been submitted there. Also, one other thing, just read that the census is now back extended to October 31st again. So if you have not completed your census, please go in to census2020.gov and complete your census online. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera and Commissioner Barnhart. I just want to touch on one item. Yesterday, I came across an article, and I've just posted a link to the article in Microsoft Teams. If IS can please publish the link to Facebook and YouTube. It's by Floyd Abrams. It's titled, "The First Amendment is the Soul of Our Democracy." I just want to read the first segment here and make a comment. I think it's a powerful article. It's from the Dallas Morning News. In his State of the Union address delivered on January 6, 1941, as war raged in the world outside the United States and one nation after another had fallen under the freedom-crushing control of Germany and Japan, President Franklin D. Roosevelt delivered a speech that still resonates today. It was called the Four Freedoms Speech, and the first of them was freedom of speech. Later that year, the artist Norman Rockwell, with Roosevelt's speech still in mind, attended a town meeting in Vermont in which the topic was whether to build a new school to replace one that had just burned down. All in attendance at the meeting supported doing so, except one man, who rose to speak in opposition to doing so. Rockwell was impressed with the fact that all those who disagreed with the speaker listened carefully and respectfully to what he had to say. He painted a picture of it, titled Freedom of Speech, which portrayed the lone dissident addressing the group. I'm not going to read the rest. You have the article. It is powerful. It goes in to explain in detail what is unique about freedom of speech in the United States relative to almost any other country, including countries in Europe, countries even like North Korea, which he notes North Korea has the protection of free speech in its constitution. It just doesn't mean anything. But one of the things that stood out in the article was this beginning segment. And I have a question, and it's a question for everyone. It is not targeted at any political persuasion. It is targeted to the environment we find ourselves in today. We often find people debating, shouting at each other. We're not hearing what the other person has to say. And I'm drawn to the story of this town in Vermont. Real freedom of speech is not just being able to talk. It's also respecting others' right to share their opinion. I thought it was powerful, and I did check this with some other sources, and this story is indeed correct. I checked with the Norman Rockwell Museum. This is not something made up in someone's imagination. Norman Rockwell did go to this town meeting and did see this single man stand up, and as a result, painted the first of his 4 freedoms painting. But I asked the question, how many times have I interrupted somebody else who was simply stating why they believe what they believe? And I bring this up for a simple reason. Part of the protection of freedom of speech is our responsibility. It doesn't mean we have to agree with what everyone else has to say, but it does mean we owe others the same respect we ourselves would like to have when we share what we have to say. As I read this, I also thought about the interactions I have with my colleagues as commissioners. And I can tell you, and I'm sure that they will back me up, we, in recent weeks and throughout this year, have had disagreements. And in our meetings, we've talked about why one person believes we should take this approach, another person believes we should take another approach. And it has not been uncommon to see one or more of us change our viewpoint because we actually took time to listen to what the other person had to say. I hope this doesn't come across as preaching. It's something that I need to hear and have myself reminded of, that if I disagree with something, shouting them down, talking over them, interrupting them, isn't the way to have a conversation. And it isn't the essence of free speech. I hope if you have an opportunity, you'll check out this article. If for some reason you're not able to see the link, the article, again, just is Floyd Abrams, "The First Amendment is the Soul of Our Democracy," and it was published, trying to see the date on it, October the 4th of 2020. So check that out. I thought it was very well done. And that's all that I have to share. Any comments from our row officers? Okay. Mary, it's time to go to you and public comment.
Okay, Jane Palmer, why missing? Gentlemen, I know it will be challenging to count an unprecedented number of mail-in ballots, and I am prepared for not knowing the outcome of the election for several days. My question this morning concerns when you will be able to start counting the ballots. Secretary of State Kathy Brookbauer has again urged state lawmakers to take action so election workers can start processing millions of mail-in ballots before polls open on election day. This is one thing, she said, which is undisputed, is good for voters, good for candidates, and good for the nation as a whole. I'd add that this would also be good for the already overworked election services staff. As county commissioners and members of the County Commissioners Association, will you add your voice to Ms. Brookbars in pressuring the state legislature to allow pre-canvassing of ballots? Melvia Ahmed, why missing? Good morning, commissioners. In Brian Gottschall's weekly COVID-19 report, he always gives the best possible spin on the charts that reflect an alarming increase in cases since schools have reopened and outside temperatures have decreased. Hopefully, that positivity is not informing decisions being made to contain and lessen effects of the virus. We need perspective that reflects how dire the consequences are if we do not get this disease under control. Becky Ellis, Reading. Good morning. Save Kercher Creek is a group in northern Berks County with a Facebook presence of nearly 2,300 people following. It is comprised of a group of people passionate and about restoring their community and doing it safely. Since ground lead casings were found inside the lake at Kercher Creek State Park. Kercher Creek Park. People fish out of the lake and people eat the fish they catch if they meet the minimum size requirements to keep the fish. There are houses below the stream and dam breasts that could become contaminated with the 100-year floods that are now happening on a much more frequent basis here in Berks County. My question is this: why must the residents of Berks County plead to have the water and mud of Kercher Creek Lake and the surrounding land tested for lead, arsenic, and antimony to ensure that they and their families are safe? Why isn't the county government advocating on their behalf? Friends of Kercher Creek has been doing an amazing job with the upkeep of the property, and the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission mowed the grass on the property just last week. However, this is not going to keep the residents safe. You have the power to advocate on behalf of the community to have the testing done and to forge a relationship with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission to restore the property back to the safe and beautiful recreation area that it was just a few years ago. Aren't the residents and their safety, welfare, and quality of life in northern Berks County worth making that effort? There are grants available for addressing environmental issues if the county feels that the taxpayer money paid by residents in northern Berks County is not worth spending to ensure their safety and welfare. There is literally no excuse for letting the lives of the residents of northern Berks County hang in the balance. Thank you. Adrian Jadick, why I'm missing. I am looking at a picture of Commissioner Leinbach in the White House smiling behind Donald Trump. There should be no surprise to anyone that Berks County has only one drop box, while Chester County has 13. Lancaster County residents have already received and mailed back their mail ballots. Berks County has only one drop box, but if you are old or have a disability, it is virtually impossible to access it. The requirement to drop your own ballot only should normally be accompanied by a multitude of drop-off locations and even drive-through drop-offs. Nursing homes are in lockdown and residents cannot vote in person without having to quarantine afterwards, but we refuse to place drop-box in nursing homes. We are less than a month before Election Day, and constituents are still wondering when will they be receiving their mail-in ballots. Our county website still does not have a comprehensive procedure or flow chart of the vote counting process. Your main purpose seems to be how to play political games and blame as much as you can on Governor Wolf. It appears that our commissioners are taking every possible step to set the stage for a chaotic voting season to enable Donald Trump, Commissioner Leinbach's friend, to claim election fraud and irregularities. We need more drop boxes now. We need a clear, publicized procedure for vote counting now. This is your job, not Governor Wolf's. Louise Grimm. There's no municipality. Taylor Picone from Hamburg. Appreciate your words on our responsibility for the First Amendment. I would like to second the questions asked by Becky Ellis regarding Kircher Creek. Thank you. Crystal Kowalski, why I'm missing. Good morning, commissioners. I would like to thank Solicitor Sadler for answering my questions last week. I am pleased to hear that people in prison are being provided with free phone calls and free postal packets during this time when they are unable to have in-person visits. Are all incoming letters still going through the company text behind? My concern with that practice is that it is less personal than holding a letter your loved one wrote. As far as the free tablet program through GTL, it has been found to be problematic in many places. They charge significantly above market rates for phone calls, video chats, and even emails. In some contracts, the correctional facility receives a portion of the revenue generated either through a flat rate payment or a percentage commission on services used by those they incarcerate. Does Berks County participate in revenue sharing with GTL? I would like to thank Warren Quigley for being responsible and pointing out that it is much easier to manage COVID protocols with a smaller population. Solicitor Sadler explained that people who can be released are being released as promptly as possible. The more direct way to reduce the population is to control the inflow. Now is the perfect time to address the problem of mass incarceration. Thank you, Crystal Kowalski. Laura Knapp, Shillington. Differences of opinions of whether or not a school should be rebuilt is one thing. But once your opinion impedes or affects my ability or any of my loved ones' ability to live is another. Jess Royer, Spring Township. Good morning, commissioners. I know on many Thursday morning meetings, you hear from a variety of individuals about things the board has done or hasn't done and why those things are frustrating. Please note that this community engagement is rooted in a desire to make Berks County into the best county it can be, and that the frustration many of us feel about action the board has taken or not taken does not negate the good things that the board does. Making the Ag Center available for dropping off mail-in ballots is a good thing, and I thank you for doing that. However, I am confident that there will be voters who show up to their polling place on November 3rd with their mail-in ballot in hand, and the process by which they could submit their ballot for destruction and subsequently vote in person is more convoluted than it needs to be. Why not simply allow those voters to turn in their already filled out ballot right there in the polling place? Hiring extra staff to work through the mail-in ballots is good, and I thank you for responding to this situation by bolstering staff levels. However, I have not yet heard how the results of the voting will be released. Will the overall total be released at once? I don't want the in-person results to be released on November 3rd, seemingly independent of those votes that are mailed in. The agendas posted online usually include the minutes from the previous week's commissioners meeting and the most recent operations meetings, and that is good and transparent, and I thank you for that. However, these minutes and meetings are still not as accessible as they could be to those who want to attend. As Commissioner Leinbach has noted, the freedom of speech is an important part of our society, but there are countless would-be attendees who aren't able to join the meetings at all. Thank you. Art Grimm.
He's posting where Louise Grimm is from.
Okay.
So you can go back up and read.
Louise Grimm, why I'm missing. Okay, I'll have to come back up to get it. Okay, good morning, commissioners. Many continue to be concerned about the most crucial election of our lifetime, with the incumbent preparing us for his inevitable victory, claiming any other result will be fraudulent. We requested our mail-in ballots in July and received an email yesterday, October 7, that the election office is working to getting the ballots ready to mail, and it could take up to 14 days to receive them. That could put us at less than 14 days to return the ballots. Assuming we mail them immediately and that it could take up to 14 days for the same ballots to be returned to the election office, they would arrive too late to be counted, even taking into account the 3 extra days tacked on to election day. Ballots postmarked on election day, though legal, could never be counted. We are planning on dropping off our ballots at the courthouse. Many elderly and disabled voters will not have that option. And as wonderful as it is to be able to vote by mail, much will depend on the post office and their ability to get the mail delivered on time. Why is it not the only drop-off? Why is it not the only drop-off box in the county accessible for extended hours till election day to ensure people who work during the day have access to it? That would be very helpful and would be worth every penny to ensure everyone can cast their vote. Would you also commit to counting all ballots received by November 6th and postmarked by November 3rd? Please continue to encourage voters to return their ballots as soon as they receive them. And I believe that concludes the comments.
So that will conclude our comment period. I'm going to give Brian Gottschall an opportunity to answer the question regarding spin on the COVID data that he presents. Brian?
Thanks, Commissioner. I certainly appreciate the perspective of the citizen who provided the comment. And I do want to apologize if any of my comments are spun either positively or negatively. That is not our intent at all. In fact, our intent is to provide, to the best of our ability to do so, a weekly review of salient data points so that citizens can be informed and make decisions about how to conduct themselves based on the best data that we can make available for them. With respect to the assertion of a positive spin, I'm actually surprised by that, because one of the reasons that we began doing this was that we felt that the information that was being made easily available to the citizenry was in fact presenting too positive a spin, for lack of a better term. And I'd like to go back and share the DOH dashboard slide with respect to positivity. If our IT department can publish that again, please, give me 1 second. Thank you. So yeah, this slide, I'll point out this middle value here, the PCR testing positivity rate, DOH showing between 2 weeks between 4 and 5%, a fairly low number. One of the things that we repeatedly try to emphasize week over week is the importance of this first test positivity. So we're kind of pushing that our positivity rate is really up here in the 10% area, not in the 5% area that DOH is making commonly and easily available. Again, illustrating the difference between the two values being that our number is looking at their data only with respect to general community testing, not with respect to serial testing in custodial facilities that include a lot of repeat negatives. And really our whole point in illustrating that data point is to help the population understand that the disease is very prevalent in our community, and that people need to be vigilant, need to continue to implement the mitigation measures that are being recommended by our governmental units with responsibility for public health. I think that perhaps what the viewer may be relating or maybe expressing concern about are my comments with respect to the early warning dashboard and how these numbers down here at the bottom with respect to hospitalization continue to look pretty good. Certainly, if I overemphasize that, I want to apologize, but I do think it's important for us to acknowledge the good with the bad, the fact that while the disease is still prevalent in our community, we need to be aware of that. We need to mitigate against it, but we also need to be attentive to the fact that our healthcare systems are not being overwhelmed. They're doing a good job. They're holding their own. And we are having some effect at flattening the curve and making sure that we're not introducing a large number of patients to our healthcare systems that would overwhelm them. I do want to take one issue with the viewers' verbiage that they use. They use the term an alarming increase in cases. And this is where we always get in trouble as individuals having discussions with our fellow citizens. And we use adjectives. They tend to inflame one way or the other. And the use of the term alarming, when we look at this smooth case count number, I believe is perhaps an alarmist term. I don't know that we've seen an alarming increase in cases. We've seen more cases than we want to see, which is 0. We've seen a case rise since the midsummer, but I think that this curve is fairly flat throughout the last couple months. And I don't believe that that represents an alarming increase in case numbers as is being discussed in the comment. So again, I respect the viewer's position. I respect the viewer's assertion that we need to avoid spin, and we will continue to try to do so. But I do believe that we've tried to be very neutral in our presentation of the data and making sure that the public understands both sides of the coin, if you will. So thank you, Commissioner, for the opportunity to address that.
Thank you, Brian. And I will just add to that. I believe I'm the person that requested of my colleagues to have Brian Gottschall start presenting the data, because prior to that, I was presenting the early warning dashboard for a number of weeks. And in our internal comments, I said to Brian, I think this data is better if it comes from a non-political person. I'm an elected official. There's going to be an assumption, as you can see by some of the comments, that because of certain factors, I'm going to believe this or I'm going to believe that. And all three of the commissioners agreed, let's get this data out there in the clearest, non-political way possible. And Brian has been doing a great job. I appreciate Brian's willingness to come back and in a very non-political way answer the concern that's been raised here this morning. With that, I'll open up to my colleagues for comment. Commissioner Barnard.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. I'll do my level best to answer many of the elections related questions in no particular order. The ballots started mailing out last Friday, and throughout the course of this week, about 10,000 a day are going out from our printer in Harrisburg. As they're printed, they're going directly to the mail service facility in Harrisburg to be mailed out. Now, let's not point fingers, but I guess I will. Everyone was all excited about getting mail-in ballots sooner rather than later. It really had to go through the court process until all the court hearings were held, and courts set their own schedules, their own dockets, and the last holdup was the Democratic Party of Pennsylvania challenging the Green Party candidate for president on the ballot. That's why there was such a delay. You probably would have had your ballots 3 weeks ago, but for the challenge to remove the Green Party presidential candidate from the statewide ballot. Recognizing it's not a simple matter of printing 7,000 forms and mailing them to a house like a postcard, there are 202 precincts. Each of them have their own unique and distinct ballot. This is a very manual process to print almost 70,000 ballots. The question and concern about people in nursing homes and the invalid and the people that are disabled, of that number I gave you this morning, nearly 6,000 of those applications are absentees. People who cannot go to the polls physically fill out absentee ballots. They've been doing that for 150 years. It's just the system. So their ballot's going to be mailed in as well. The question about pre-canvassing, we've been going back and forth for probably since the primary. There was one side, the Democrats and the governor wanted 15 days for pre-canvassing. The Republicans wanted 3 days. They reached an impasse. There was no resolution to that. I found out early this week from a reliable source in the Senate that the 5-day pre-canvassing is back on the table, that the Senate has approved it. The governor would be willing to approve it. It's really now resting in the House with the Republicans in the House, whether they'll agree to start opening the envelopes as early as Thursday before the election. As reported last week, we have now 150 county employees and 86 county employees on first shift and second shift on election day to work at the DoubleTree, socially distanced in 6 separate rooms, to do nothing but open the 2 envelopes and then get the ballots over for scanning in the 13th floor commissioner's boardroom. Now, this can make some radical changes. If they allow us to pre-canvass 5 days ahead of time, we're going to have to go back to those same employees and ask if they're willing to come in on Saturday and Sunday if the DoubleTree ballroom is open. I just don't think people understand the day-to-day, sometimes hour-to-hour changes that are happening in the election system. And I want you to recognize that our election staff is doing a tremendous job of keeping focused on the mission. The other one, that we've been receiving some requests for more specific details about the elections and the process and all that stuff. If you are a group, not an individual, if you are a group that has concerns, send those concerns to me. I'm the chair of the election board. We are trying our level best to keep the pressure off of legal, off of Ron Seaman, Donna Blatt, Karen Barsum, and the staff in election services for groups that want to come in and spend hours upon hours talking on virtual meetings about how the election process is taking place. Put that onus on me. If you represent a group, contact me by an email or a phone call. I'd be more than happy to talk you through the process. I've been doing that with people through the various past few weeks. Again, we are attempting to have the ballots counted in conjunction with the machine numbers. So generally back in June, the machine numbers were available probably by 11 o'clock or unofficial 11 o'clock. Polls close at 8. So those machine numbers are much easier to calculate than the ballots. So in the primary, it took us literally until lunchtime Thursday, 2.5 days post-election, to have the paper ballots counted and uploaded into the system. Our goal is to have them done election day. Can't promise, can't guarantee, but that's our goal. And I said last week, we always get criticized or compared to other counties. And I find it hard to believe that Lancaster mailed out all their ballots and they're all back in. I have a call in one of my Lancaster commissioner colleagues and asked him if they've mailed everything out and mailed it back in. Because I would dare say they probably have like 100,000 requests for mail-in ballots in Lancaster County since they're somewhat larger than we are. So again, I'm asking everyone to just chill out, calm down. Everything is well in hand, but recognizing things change by the hour, sometimes by the minute, but mostly by the day. And this election in Berks County is going to go off. It's going to go off extremely well because you have well-seasoned professionals working in election services, and as well as Ron and Christine Sadler and Chadwick Schnee helping us along the lines. So, and with respect to Kircher Creek and Taylor Pacone, if you're successful in your election, then you'll be representing that area, and then you can advocate on behalf of the county to Fish and Boat and the state. As we've repeatedly said on several of these meetings, that property is not owned by the county. It was leased by the county. And it was explained by Christine Sadler, I think a week or two ago, as to why the county is no longer there. They could not give us indemnification from a potential multi-million-dollar battery cleanup. It's not like we're walking away from responsibility. That is not our responsibility, and it's not the burden of the taxpayers in Berks County to clean up the battery casings. It's Fish and Boat and the state government. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnhart. Commissioner Rivera, any comments?
I do not have any comments today. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
With that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we're out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see you in elections in a minute.
Yep.